How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the weekly trade review for the week of 3/17. I took 7 trades this week, took 1 swing and 6 day trades. I'll go over the swing first, which is PM. But first, let's talk about what happened in the market last week. So, we're recording this on a Monday, so we're going to ignore that other prior day, and I'm going to delete these AView apps, which keep coming up every video. So I got to probably save this and figure out what is going on here. Save that. Save workspace. All right. So last week, you can see on the 17th, we just kind of chopped around for the most part. After a big move down, we did expect some sort of bounce, but we didn't really get anything going here. We opened the week at 562 and closed the week around 563. So yeah, not really a lot of net movement in that last week. I'm going to zoom into that M30 chart. So I drew this upward sloping trend line, or this channel, and I'm going to redraw it. Actually, I'm going to redraw it here like that. All right, there is our upward sloping channel. So after this big tall bounce here, looks like we had this downward sloping trend channel. We may have broken that to the downside. And if I were to draw a line maybe here. Yep. All right, so it looks like maybe we broke it to the downside, or maybe we formed a new channel. Not super sure, but the main thing is that after a big downtrend, we are bouncing. And so there's the start of the bounce on 2 Fridays ago. We got a little bit of action here to the upside, drop down, compress, rally back up. Test this level again, which is that gap around 569. Couple of tests here, drop down again, and then we grind back up. So a lot of opportunities to not trade, in my opinion. A lot of places where you can get caught. And kind of coming in from my poor performance 2 weeks ago, I was really looking to take a smaller number of trades and looking to pick my spots, pick my stocks. You know, in these kind of conditions, just trying to get one really, really nice setup where I like everything on the stock and the market. Everything sort of lines up for me, and I can fire off that trade. So you can notice that in this week and even last week, I took a lot less trades than I did in the prior couple of weeks, where I was taking anywhere from 11 to 20 trades. Now I'm under 10 trades. So that was a big change for me. I think for the positive, less trades means less low probability situations, and I'm making more money because I'm avoiding a lot more losers. Also much easier for me to manage. Okay, so that was a setup. Let's talk about PM. So here's a setup when I took PM on the 17th. I like this breakout. Here's what the stock was doing, and here is what the market was doing. So we had this breakout kind of on the 17th, and I liked how this stock held up pretty well while the market was moving down and moved up higher. Defensive stocks were looking good. So I figured there's a good chance it could maybe test this prior high around 158 and now take my profits. So given that the market was bouncing up, given that I was more bearish on a longer term basis, but mildly bullish on a shorter term basis, I thought a CDS was the best option over here. So how did I do? Well, this ended up being pretty much a dud. We got a little tail here, ended up being a lower high, and stock rallied down. Now, it still looks fine technically, I would say. Nothing too wrong with this. It's finding support above its AView app E, and I'd like to see this low hold here, but given that it was a CDS, I just ran out of time on the CDS, and the thing expired worthless. So I ended up taking that 155, 157.50 CDS for 99 cents. I did 2 contracts, which was about 2/3 size. So I took the full loss on that. And my only conclusion is that the only thing that I can really nitpick potentially about this trade is that there is some sort of sell-off. These sort of defensive stocks are a little bit divergent. So when the market was flat, there was a little bit of money flowing out of those stocks at this point. It also made a pretty big move. So after this pullback, it might need a bit of a double bottom lower high before it can actually get through that level. So I'm actually going to set an alert line here. But the only thing I can really nitpick is one, it's a slightly diversion stock, and two, CDS ran out of time. My only chance to take profit was right after it came out, and given that I was a little bit more bearish, a little more bullish in the market last week, especially with the FOMC week, I thought I'd get a bounce for 1 to 2 weeks. Didn't expect that kind of price action, so took the loss. But I'm not really ruining the setup too much. It was a good setup. I felt like I waited for my chance, and I didn't get the market wrong. The market was flat, and if you look at any other stock, like let's say look at something like RTX, right, where here's the same pick on the 17th, and the market is flat, and RTX shoots up, right? This is kind of what I expected from PM. Now, I didn't take it because it had this little line of resistance in the way, but I like this move up here. Honestly, probably over here is probably when I'd like to take it on the 14th, but it's a little bit slightly jumping the gun there, I would say, market-wise. But, there's a nice move of follow through, and the market was flat that week. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking at on RTX. And then if you're worried, oh, man, is it going to go higher or lower? Well, you can see that it's a choppy stock that's moving in a channel, so you want to take gains near the high here, and it pulled back to the 8 EMA the day after. So that's an example where, okay, it's a pretty similar setup, but it would have worked out. I think other defensive stocks did pretty well. If I look at something like ERJ, another similar setup here. Here's the 14th, here's the 17th. We got that follow through the next couple of days, and that's all I was looking for in my CDS, where I would have taken some gains. All right, so that's PM. Let's go into the other trades over here. I'm going to start with my first trade, which is CMG. I didn't take any day trades on Monday, but I'm going to go into that M5 chart and just kind of walk through the trades I took and walk through what the market price action and the setup was giving me on that day. So 17th, didn't take any day trades. There's also some of the reasons is partly that I'm just at work, or maybe I missed the open because I'm just kind of getting myself ready for the day. I'm exercising or doing something like that. So I may miss some of the action in the open, which I think ends up working out, to be honest, because we have this action and then it kind of dies, and it's kind of hard to trade the open. And this kind of choppy conditions, you have moves that kind of stall out or kind of reverse, and you got to be ready to pull the plug pretty quickly. So didn't take anything on the 17th here. We did get a pretty nice rally in the middle of the day. After we had this move here, and then we pretty much compressed for a very, very long time, and got a nice rally. Volume was okay, but a lot of nice consecutive candles. So to me, at least, what I'm seeing is you have this bottoming out process where you have some lows here, and then you're forming some higher lows. So if I just draw some end of day lines right here, right, here's a higher low, come back, higher low, come back, higher low, right, come back down, higher low. So we're just slowly bottoming out. It really looks like, I'm going to clear up the SPY chart. It looks like the end of SPY going from 2022 to 2023. And if I just were to look at let's just look at like a weekly chart, for example, right? See this bottoming process, and you know this is what I'm talking about when price patterns are fractal, where it's you have a gradual bottoming process, low, low, low. You get a lower high here, lower high here, lower high here, and then we get some lift off over here as these gains are digested. So that was the setup over here, at least on the M5 on SPY. Let's go into the 18th. So we had a bit of a double top after that rally, stalled out on resistance near the gap. And I guess I'll pull the D1 chart over here for reference. You can see we had this gap on 310. So it hit that gap level and found some resistance. Now we got a move down here, big drop lower, coming back, testing this level, and then it kind of stalled out for the entire day. So market's not really doing a whole lot on this day. So I was looking for both relatively strong and relatively weak stocks. Now, earlier in the day, I was looking to see if SPY gets any sort of movement, but we really stall out at this level around 560, and just a lot of mixed overlapping candles with sideways movement. Market is trapped between VWAP and the low of the day. If it was able to break through the low of the day, especially on this candle like at 115, so if you see something like this, right, instead of this tail, we get a long red candle through the low of the day, then that has a nice makings for a nice little late day bearish move. But it was less likely given the fact that we had a big move. We're more likely to be in the bouncing phase right now. And we need to see this candle close. So I felt it was more likely that we would stall, but you have to have the scenarios out in case what you think is most likely to happen may not always happen. So looking for a couple of trades, and I ended up locking in on CMG. And I like CMG here on the 18th. It had broken through this low on the 7th. And pretty bearish chart overall. Wasn't really rallying with the market. So we can see here's CMG on the 18th. Here is the market on the 18th. It's down, but CMG is down considerably. And it didn't really rally the last couple of days while the market was moving up. So I like that. Now, it did look like there was some sort of support on the stock around maybe $48. So let's just look into that M5 chart. I'm going to remove these little trend lines that are in my chart. All right, so here is CMG. So here's a price action. Pretty decent price action the way down. There's a little bit of overlap, but lots of nice red consecutive candles here. Now, I'm just waiting for this thing to, when I found it, it was kind of pulling back. I saw there's a lot of mixed body candles here, so it needs some time before I could short it. Pull back up over here, and what I really liked is that we got the strong bearish move, double bottom, higher low. Okay, so look, we got to wait longer for a setup over here because we're getting this double bottom, higher low, and we broke to a new high. So if I were to draw a parallel channel here, we have this bullish kind of buying climax over here. Long tail. See that volume on this tail right here? This big volume spike where sellers are looking, right? We got the move above VWAP, right? Buyers are piling in, and then boom, we slam the door. Many consecutive red candles that get us back over here. Now, at this point, it's on my radar because I got an alert that it broke through VWAP. But at here, I'm like, okay, well, look, it's still a little bit too bullish for me to short at this juncture. There's a good chance that we still maintain this channel and we bounce up higher. So I need to see it kind of stall and break down. So we broke down through this little bottom channel here, tested VWAP, and then we start to get pretty weak at 235. So I take the short at the close of this candle at 240, and all I'm looking for is a move somewhere to the low of the day. So I'm short 250 shares at 47.77, which was an okay entry. At a little bit of a better entry, maybe 4 or 5 cents here, but pretty decent entry, and I like how it just confirmed the new low. If you look at SPY at 240, over here, right, SPY, market's going up, stock is going down, so it gained its relative strength back, and I know it's a pretty dead day, so I don't need the market to do a lot. Chipotle has a lot of volume, a lot of relative weakness, so it should be able to drive the move lower. And move it over here, and on this, I believe it was this, where was this candle? Was it this candle on 305? Yes, I took gains, at the close of this candle. I took gains at 40, on the close of this candle here, I took gains at 47.67. So I took 10 cents on this, which, again, not a huge move, but on a day like this, I'm happy to get a small little win. There were some very slight optimizations I maybe could have made. So, for example, if I got in at like 47.83 or, and I got out at 47.63, that's going to be 20 cents instead of 10 cents. But it's kind of hard to finagle some of those small things, especially on a stock where, look, I know there's some resistance here. I'm not gonna wait around and see what happens to resistance. I'm going to take some strength, especially on a kind of a down market day. And you look at this price action, it's not super strong. We're not seeing like a lot of decently medium body candles, a lot of tiny red candles. So I'm getting some follow through because I had a really good entry, but I'm not going to stick around and wait for this to snap back up on me. I'm just going to take some gains into strength, take a small win, and call it a day. And ended up being the right choice. We had some move here, but then you can see Chipotle had a nice rally, and I believe it rallied rallied over since then. Got another test over here, but still looks pretty good on the D1 chart. But for a day trade, I liked my entry, like my exit. It was a pretty decent setup, and I'm happy to make money on a pretty garbage environment like the 18th. So that's my only trade on the 18th. Let's go over to the 19th now on SPY. Small gap up, move up higher, come down to test VWAP. this is a nice place to take longs, probably somewhere over here. I would say either at 11:05, this is a nice entry point. Even on 11:30 is a pretty nice entry point. You can take some longs over here. So I had that, and then we started to make a marginal new high on this move here. Bit of a double top, and we're dropping lower. So figure that there's chances to take both longs and shorts here. To me, this drop was a little bit longer, a little bit deeper than we would have liked to test this level. So I'm mildly bullish at this juncture. And then with this marginal new high, I'm like, all right, I'm still mildly bullish. We're still going to hold a low of the day, and the overall trend is up. But if there's a really weak stock, I can definitely take a short on that. So I'm going to go to Meta. And I believe I took 3 trades on Meta this week. So a lot of trading on Meta. And the reason I did that was honestly just because of the price action on the M5. I had a lot of clean price action, even though it's not, some of these trades were not my usual setup. So here's Meta on the 19th. You can see it had this doji kind of day, inside day, right? 200 SMAs below it. So, not a usual setup, but wasn't a lot of great setups out there. And again, I was really leading on, there was some short-term bearishness and some nice price action. So let's look at what I was seeing on the 19th. All right, so here's the 18th, big drop, right? Close to 200 SMA, but didn't quite get there. And now we're rallying up. Now look at this rally, how it's a really choppy rally. And it goes on for quite a bit of time. It lasts for most of this day and the beginning of the next day. So here's Meta, and you can see how this rally is starting to stall out, and it's really relatively weak during this hold leg up. So market's rallying for the first half of the day. Meta is really weak. Tested VWAP here a couple of times, and it's looking pretty good. Now, I believe there was also an AVWAP from this day over here. If I just put it up, let's just put it up here. Yeah, so it's keeping an eye on that. Now, they're kind of in the same place because it's compressing, so I'm not worried. But what I was really looking for is, hey, look, if Meta can break this low of the day here, I'm going to go short, and I want to take some gains near this low of the day because we found some support there, and I'm not crazy about the market. So I'm waiting here, and then I get the breakdown on Meta right around here. Here's a 1235 candle, so I go short Meta. I take 30 shares short at 578.35. So here's the setup at 1240. Here is the SPY setup at 1240. So SPY's still pretty bearish. SPY's still decently bullish here, but what I'm thinking is, look, we saw some selling pressure. I think we might see some move lower, and I know that even if the market stalls out for a little bit, Meta doesn't need the market to really go up. It just needs market to go down a lot. It just needs the market to stop going up. I think this concept of headwinds and tailwinds is very helpful, but also no wind is very helpful. The really, really strong stocks, they don't need the market to go up. They don't need the tailwind always, although it definitely helps. They just need no headwind, which means that they can have a directionless market or a the same aligned direction market, and they can do well. So this is where I took Meta, broke through this low of the day here. You can see there's a couple of tests here. So there's probably some sell stops, I believe, here. And I also liked how the volume was picking up on this candle. Okay, so that was the entry on that. I was really happy with my entry. Felt like I entered well on the stock. We got some follow through. Came back and tested this level here, which I wasn't worried about. I sized it. I sized it for a move to VWAP, and my idea here was maybe take anywhere from like $2 to $5, all the way to the low of the day. $5 would be a pretty tall ask if I got a stronger market move that maybe tested 200 SMA, but somewhere along that line. And I didn't expect the market also to rally much because we had the FOMC coming up tomorrow. So I thought there's going to be a lot of dead conditions. And I felt that, again, Meta was weak enough where if it got some dead conditions, it should be able to drop and it should be able to take a decent win on this. So had the retest of this level, which I was fine with because, again, look at this stock. It's a little bit choppy, right? So I got a decent entry, right? I didn't chase over here. I got my entry right over here. So I'm not taking that much heat on it, maybe $1 or so. And then we got a nice move lower on some long red candles. Now, part of you, if you don't have a great game plan, you might be a little greedy here and say, look, oh man, big drop, right? Market has a big drop. What did the market do? Well, here's Meta at 110. Here's the market at 110. Okay, we got a big drop. Now, remember what I said. I'm still mildly bullish on the market, and Meta is near support. So what should I do? Meta is also a choppy stock. So what's the chance that this can actually break the low of the day here? Not super high in my opinion. I think it's more likely that this retraces up. I got the move I'm looking for, and I take some gains. So I take gains at 595.19. So $3 win. Pretty nice win on Meta. And call it a day. That was my little win on this guy. Ended up being a good decision. Meta found some support at this low of the day here, began to rally, and has not seen that level for the rest of the week. SPY also decided to find some little bit of support here. I knew as long as the low of the day held, we were good. Here's the FOMC statement coming out at 2. I didn't know what was going to happen, so I didn't want to kind of stick around and find out. And then we had a bullish reaction on both cases. So, don't always take a trade on FOMC day, but this was an interesting trade that lined up, and I felt I had a nice pocket to at least get close to that low of the day. And pretty happy with the profits on that. So that was Meta. Let's take a look at Meta on the next day, which was Thursday, 320. So with the FOMC reaction, was kind of a weird move, and it was a stronger move that came back to the gap, and then we got knocked back down again. And then early in the morning, SPY had this kind of like bearish reversal pattern, I would say, where we had this gap down post FOMC, and we filled that move all the way back up, got close to the high, but not quite. And then we started to see some sell-off. So I took Meta short on this day, fairly late in the day. I took it right over here at 210, which I will... Oh, sorry. I believe I took it at around 220. My bad on that. So, what I like Meta? Well, look, I was like, hey, kind of a weird day in terms of shorts. Market was strong enough in the beginning where I didn't want to take you don't want to load up on a whole bunch of shorts here, right? So we broke through VWAP. Maybe you can take some shorts here, but then this move is just looking kind of like weird and fluffy, right? Like I'd rather wait for some sort of meaningful double top and then short, but this move is just going on long and long and long and long. So I'm in this weird sort of, purgatory where I don't want to be really short, but I also don't want to be really long, right? Because this move has been deeper. Market hasn't yet found some support, hasn't yet really gotten to VWAP. I haven't seen any sort of meaningful bounce. Like we got a little bounce here, a little bounce here. Nothing that was like actually kind of decent. So we're just waiting for this, and it's just kind of grinding down over here. So I figured like, all right, I'm not going to like try to predict a bounce over here. I'm just going to make a little small, quick short. I'm in and out, and that's all I'm going to do over here. So I like Meta for a couple reasons. You can see that it's stalled. Market stalled at 1045. Stalled for a little bit over here, had some strength, and then it really sold off, and it started to lose its strength here around 1. What I liked about it was this very orderly price action. We see big drop, compression, big drop, compression, big drop, compression. So had this nice predictable chunky price pattern. So I got in Meta, I got an okay entry. I got at 595.72. So I got it over here. I would rather get a little bit, over here, maybe at 210. And here is the market at 210. So I'm thinking, all right, well, look, market in this kind of bearish channel now, where we haven't really got any sort of meaningful bounce. We might test the low of the day. We might make a higher low. So I'm going to find a stock that is weak here and then just short it on this next little cycle lower. So here is the setup on that. All right, market bouncing, Meta lower highs, market higher lows. So pretty nice relative weakness, and then some really nice orderly price action. I felt I had a chance to probably test the prior day AVWAP, which I'm going to put up again over here. Yep. So that was my target this prior day AVWAP. And I figured, look, had a pretty good chance to get there. And I had some nice room to that level. So took short at Meta right around here. And then I got some pretty immediate follow through in about 10 minutes. I took a smaller position. So the day before I took like 30 shares here. Over here, I just took 15 shares because it was farther from VWAP. So I set my stop like somewhere here where if I got this like massive $10 move, I could just take the hit, and I could take out max loss of $150. So I sized it wider. I had a wider stop, which is how I kind of managed the risk on this trade. Where if it did go up higher, I could still take the heat and then come back lower. Where the better entry would have been somewhere here at 120, and then I could actually size it a little bit more aggressively. Maybe it's something like 20 shares because I'm a little bit closer to VWAP, and this is the pattern I kind of like. All right. So take it short here, and then I take profits at 230. Excuse me. So I get in at 594.72, and then I exit at 230 right here at 591. Now I need to check that because I wrote the wrong number here. Okay, sorry about that. I am back, although it should feel like no time in the video. So I did take gains at 592, which is just above this entry. Was pretty happy with that. One thing I forgot to mention too is I actually took 1 share here and then I added 14 shares here because I wasn't super confident. But when I got that follow through, I added to the trade. So just another thing to kind of watch out for. But that was a nice one at Meta. And then I actually took it again right on this candle here at 325. So I like the price action. Was still watching it here. So took day trade short 30 shares at 588.70. And we're just watching here. Now, maybe I psyched myself out here. Not sure, but I figured, hey, I'm like, well, hold on. We're still on this inside day, so I should probably check the AVWAP from 2 days ago because that was a pretty big move. So let me see what that's doing here. And that came out around pretty much at my entry. Now, we did kind of break through here, but I figured, you know what, man? Like, it's at my entry. Maybe we'll find some support here. Maybe we won't. It's kind of late in the day at 3:30. If you look at the market's pretty flat. This kind of just grinding up here, not really doing a whole lot. So took this trade here, and then took the trade here, and then I decided against it on the next candle because I just had no room, in my opinion. So scratched right away. I just kind of missed that TA, but it happens. I don't beat myself up. I got out immediately when I realized it, so that was a small little scratch. Okay, now we are done with Meta, finally. And just to reiterate back on the D1 chart, right, we just had inside day here. So there's some decent movement both ways, but it has some volume, and it was kind of following SPY a little bit, but it had some pretty obvious relative weakness with some good price action. Now on Friday, I took 2 trades. First one was BMY. This is pretty strong stock. Now there is a good amount of resistance right here at just about north of 61, like 61.10, 61.08, something like that. So was watching that level. There's also a gap fill over here, so there was some amount of room in this guy. If I look at this low, maybe they provided some resistance, but I usually look at the close more than that low. So market gap down overnight, compress, moved up higher, and then started to move up lower. Now on this gap down, a couple things. First, you can see how we poked through it a couple times, and we actually made a new high. So in the first hour or so of the day, first 90 minutes or so, I was mildly bullish. I was like, all right, look, we got this compression break. It's looking good. I'm going to wait for some sort of dip here, find a stock, and then I can go long. Now, market here moved up higher and then came down a little bit lower through VWAP, and we got a nice long red candle here. So this is where I was saying, all right, well, look, we had this bearish cycle. Volume is pretty decent. It's also triple witching too. So volume is pretty decent. And we have this bearish divergence here. Pretty clean cross. There's a little bit of a mini cross here, but pretty clean cross happening right now. So looking at BMY, and I'm like, hey, look, BMY rallying up nice and high. and market is down. BMY is up. So I take long BMY, 150 shares at 61.15. So enter it right over here. This is the setup on BMY. And I liked what I saw. It's not a huge mover, but held up pretty well yesterday. It held all the gains yesterday when the market was kind of down, and rallied up from that compression break a couple days ago. Broke out of this compression today, and it just held up pretty well. So took it at the 11:40 candle, 11:45, and this was an entry-wise on SPY. This was an anticipatory trade because I'm assuming that the low of the day is going to hold. But entry-wise on the stock, this was a really good entry because we had this nice little compression break to the high over here. So I had a pretty quick stop on SPY where I did not want to see the low of the day breach. Otherwise, I was going to exit the trade. And I'd also sized it, I think, for a move down to VWAP. So like I sized it pretty big here, or sized it smaller given that ATR, but give it a whole dollar, which is a good amount of room on a stock like this. So moved up higher, kind of tested this level a couple times, wasn't really doing a whole much. SPY found some support and started rallying higher at 12.15. Now my plan on BMY was to take gains of the gap fill at 61, and I expected the stock to move up once the market found support and started to take off. So didn't really see that, so gave it a couple of candles here, and then around 12, right over here, 12:30, you can see that market moved up, kind of stalling over here. This is a pretty good move, and we see some back and forth movement. I know we're mildly bullish, but sellers are going to take a shot down lower. If I look at this stock at that juncture, I believe it was right here where I was like, all right, well, the stock has been pretty flat. It's losing its relative weakness. I have a pretty decent entry, so why don't I just take my scratch over here? So I scratched at 61.10. And I was like, I'll set some alerts if it sets back up again and the market sets back up again. But, kind of just time stop out of this one. I didn't see the movement that I wanted to, so got out of the trade for a tiny loss. An opportunity to take some profits if I held it over here, but at this point, it's just kind of hard to predict what the stock what this stock is going to do. It didn't really meet my expectations. Kind of stalled out for the whole day. Didn't really do a whole lot. So fine with that scratch. I'm not worried about, whether I should have taken profits here, whether I should have taken profits here, or whether I should have taken profits here. I was following my system, and it lost its relative weakness, so I was out of the trade within the hour. So that was BMI, another scratch. Last trade I took was FDX. So let's take a look at this stock here. It had earnings, big gap down from earnings, and started to rally up. So this is a gap fill reversal trade. I do look for these every day. They don't always set up, but I'm able to find maybe a handful a month that set up really nicely. So on this day, I was mildly bullish. So I was looking for stocks that were also bullish on SPY. Now, FDX, the first thing I liked about this was that we gapped down, compressed, and then we moved up higher. And we got some relative strength pretty early in the day and broke through that high of the day. So I like that. So now I was watching for the next pullback. Often these stocks will rally up, pull back to VWAP, and then move up higher. This stock was compressing, and I held, put an alert here at the high of the day at 224.53. So I got that break right here at 12. If I look at the market at 12, I see, okay, look, market's forming support. Bearish cycle is done. Bullish 1OP cross coming up over here, and we're forming support and some higher lows. So I like that. I get this entry, and I'm long 30 shares at 224.91. So I'm long 20 shares here. Market rallies, stock rallies, but you can see that it's not as strong. But the main thing that's important is that it's very grindy, right? It's holding that 8 EMA really nicely, and it just kind of produces this nice 45-degree pattern. And I can actually, maybe I can get rid of that. We'll see. But just this really nice 45-degree pattern on the stock. So if I were, okay, let me just delete this. And oftentimes that prior day AVWAP will be a line of resistance. So just watching out over here. And my plan was from enter over here and take profits at that prior day AVWAP around 2:30. So entered at 12 o'clock, and then at let me look at this timestamp here. At 12, the 12:20 candle, so right over here at 12:20, I added another 5 shares. Sorry, another 30 shares at 225.91. So now I have a double position, 60 shares at 225.41. So a double position here, and it just kind of kept grinding up and grinding up and grinding up and grinding up and grinding up. So didn't have to worry about it as much. I wasn't worried about the loss of relative strength because these grinders may not move as in sync with the market. So market's rallying up here, kind of double tops, but it's not really giving a whole lot. We poked through here at 130 and we found some support, so still able to ride the stock over here at 130. And I was willing to scratch out if it started to not go my way, but I just let it kind of ride to this AVWAP from the prior day, and I took gains at 229.33. So kind of right around here, I took some gains as we approached this level of resistance. And here is the market at one. Let's look at the one. At the 145 candle. So let's go to here. It's kind of stalling. This stock's looking good, but coming up to support. So took some nice gains into strength, and that was a really nice win. That was my biggest win for the week. It offset my loss from PM. But I took a more than about a $4 winner on 2XIs with 60 shares on that. So that was a nice win for me, and that flipped the week green on my end. So that was FDX, and did have a little bit more follow through, but kind of stalled out here. I didn't leave too much on the table here. Maybe left like $1 on the table or so, something like that. But yeah, pretty happy with that win. Spied into too much the rest of the day, just kind of compressed. I mean, it pulled back a little bit, fairly choppy price action. FDX kind of held the gains and actually had some decent follow through today. Looks like maybe, that was a nice entry point, maybe over here. You can probably scalp that, get a couple of bucks here, couple of bucks over here. Yeah. All right. Well, those are my a couple of trades for this week. Pretty light action here. Now, in terms of this upcoming week, just taking a quick look at this D1, we finally got that bounce to the 200. I'm waiting for this to stall. I'm cool if it kind of just floats out over here. If you look at the some of the AVWAPs here, we got some coming in. 200 SMA over here. This all-time high AVWAP at 575.60. Another AVWAP around 577. So I'd like to see it stall kind of around this like 578 level here. Maybe not above 580. I'd like to see most of that move preserved here. A little bit of time, and then we start to fall back below that 200-day SMA. But right now the market is mildly bullish, so you have to wait for this to stall and then get that bounce. Then start to look for relatively weak stocks. So I think I'll be taking some swing trades. Probably not this week, maybe next week or the week after, but that's when I'm looking at some swing trades to take. But right now, still sticking with some day tradings. Didn't take any trades today. On the day, it was kind of a terrible day. Maybe a couple of small windows here and there, but big gap up to the 20 SMA, just compressed for most of the day. Not a lot of opportunity, in my opinion. So good day to not trade. I'm going to pick my spots and continue to just wait for the setups to come to me and all the tumblers to align. So that's it for this week's video. And then last week of the first quarter. So I'll have a big quarterly Q1 update. Well, I'll look at how I did, look at what I learned, and what I'm going to change or not change going forward into Q2 to see if I can meet my goal and double my account. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all in the next video.